Welcome everyone to my new Canadian Highlander series. Every episode I'm going to bring in accomplished pilots of the deck and they're going to talk about things like strengths, weaknesses, deck building philosophy, the goal of the deck, potential point spreads, anything that you might need to know to get an idea of, do I want to try this or not? So without further ado, no series like this is complete without the guests, and I've brought a couple pretty great guests on to talk about the deck today, Lotus Breach. Let's just hear a short introduction from folks. Cole, we'll start with you.
You guys can just call me Cole. I go by Thundershirts online. I've played Canlander since beginning 2023. Lotus Breach, I've played it since probably late 2023, mid 2023, around that time. A lot of the influences for how I built Lotus Breach initially was based off of my experiences with cEDH, because in that format, it's always fast and you have all the most broken fast mana and the most broken tutors, and you have three opponents, so some cards are a lot better, some cards are a lot worse. My previous experiences and my experiences with Lotus Breach is just always be the one asking the question, never the one answering it. So always being a threat, not being the one who has to respond to it.
I would like to be referred to some user Zoe. For particularly Canlander, I started around Lord of the Rings, so that's about 2.5 years ago. I played Lotus Breach actually almost right away when I first started playing, as the initial decks I was familiarizing myself with the format. Eventually I got back onto the Storm idea with Aggro, which is Reanimator, Breach, Broodlord Storm, Hybrid, Combo, Pile. And while that's all good and fun, I've been recently trending towards Lotus Breach as my combo deck of choice. For Magic in general, I've been playing since around Magic Origins, and I don't have a lot of 60 card format, but I've been playing a lot of Limited.
Do you think the experience with Limited helped in terms of, ideas about deck building Canadian Highlander? A lot of times the deck is full of one-ofs and maybe two-ofs. Do you think any of that translated over to when you started playing Canadian Highlander? Anything that you picked up from there that came over with you?
I think just playing the best cards. Sometimes I like to, play some bad cards, but usually I like to focus a lot more on just playing the best cards in each of the slot. Each threat has to be its own answer, instead of I'm putting together this engine that if you put one piece of disruption into, it'll fall apart, which, is kind of ironic considering combo is a little bit more like that, where you assemble this whole combo together and then you point one piece of a disruption and it falls apart. But
well, such is life,
such is life. That is what you sign up for. But yeah, just playing the best cards in the slots instead of just, this card's really cute with Lotus. I can't think of an example right now, but cards that seem good on paper and if this combination happens, it's really good. But in practice, you're just playing the best cards, because if you play the best cards, hopefully the best outcome will happen.
What is Lotus Breach? How does this deck work? What's kind of the idea behind it, sort of the deck philosophy?
I kind of think about Lotus Breach as doing one thing results in another thing, results in another thing. Usually, when you're playing out the game, sometimes on turn 2 or 3, you're going to cast a tutor that's going to find a Black Lotus, and that Black Lotus is going to allow you to cast another tutor, which is going to allow you to find Underworld Breach, which then maybe on a future turn allows you to play Underworld Breach, and then cast Lotus again, then cast another tutor to find your mill piece, and then to actually kill them. But to me, the deck is trying to assemble this conga line of tutors and mana generation effects and recursion through Breach to eventually just get an overwhelming advantage on your opponent. You can kill them however which way you want. You can mill them. If you're playing a way to deal damage to them, you can deal damage to them. You can perform Cold Fusion with the deck once you get to a certain point.
Cole, what's your take?
At the core of it, the deck is an A plus B combo deck, right? Or A plus B plus C plus etc. But the A facilitates the rest of the B and C and D and E and whatever you go to, because really, as always said, you're just trying to find Lotus and then Breach, and then you have the tutors and the cards in the yard to find your Brain Freeze, and the Brain Freeze kind of just lets you play out the rest of your library and kill your opponent however you want to. You're not really caring about anything aside from finding Breach and Black Lotus, or finding ways to find Breach, Black Lotus, and then Breach, or vice versa. And you gotta take tutors to deal with hate pieces like Thalia or Grafter's Cage, but end of the day, all roads lead to Rome.
I found usually with the Yogwill and Tendrils aspect of the deck, Tendrils does kind of replace the Lightning Bolt, where it's just an easy kill to show your opponent.
If you're already able to mill your opponent out once you have Underworld Breach out, and you're able to do anything you want, why make it more difficult? How I've always thought about the deck is, why do I need to dilute that game plan when that game plan has proven to work for the last, how many years has Underworld Breach been around? 6 years?
Yeah, 6 years at this point. For the Yogg-Will and Tendrils, because the package is so small, it's only 2 cards, because every other card that you would be interested in playing, you're already playing. You're already playing the Reign of Filth, you're already playing the Cabal Ritual. Because the package is so small, you can very easily fit it in.
I'm just not on Yawgmoth's Will because it was kind of like I was mentioning earlier, if I can tutor for Yawgmoth's Will, I can also tutor for Underworld Breach. And if I'm tutoring for one of those, why don't I go for the card that my deck is built around?
Do you think that if players are working on trying to add this plan B option to Underworld Breach, the Lotus Breach, that you really got to make sure that it doesn't either interfere or cost too much inclusion from your main Lotus Breach line?
Yeah, I think that if you're including a secondary game plan for Lotus Breach, A has to have a low cost of inclusion, like Zoe was mentioning with Yawgmoth's Will and Terminals of Agony. Honestly, it just has to be, this is going to be an answer I feel like everybody's going to hate. It has to be worth it. Back when 4th Aerolingus wasn't a point, I threw it into Lotus Breach. I was like, you know what? Land a deck with all fast mana and tutors wanting just jamming a 4th Aerolingus for 2 or 3 on turn 1 is usually game over. I don't really think it's so much a question of does it work with it, more so is it worth it?
Sure, that makes sense. Some user Zoe, what are your thoughts on including a plan B? I know you already mentioned you have the Yawgmoth's Will Tendrils lines, so I'm sure you have some thoughts on this.
Personally, I do like to have my combos overlap. The Yogg-Will stuff, it's all graveyard based, which sure does expose you to some of the same hate pieces, but because of that, you get to have this very small package. And usually when you draw one of them, maybe I can go for this instead. And there are hate pieces that it does play around. A lot of creature decks could try to put up a Haywire Mite or a Cankerbloom in front of, before you try to go for the Underworld Breach line, and then you hit them with the Yogg line, and they're like, what is going on? At least for this, I also kind of view the One Ring as a 1-card pivot. Plans have to be 1 or 2 card packages, and not the 1 or 2 cards oh, if you draw these 2, they're good together. It's in the 100 cards deck, how much slots are they taking up? If they take up 1 or 2 slots, another thing that we haven't talked about yet is Oath of Druids. You are losing out on 2 tutors, but you are getting functionally a tutor back because Oath of Druids basically tutors for whatever you want if you get a trigger off. And at least to me, I think that is worth it, but I also don't think it is something that is absolutely required.
What would you say the strengths of Lotus Breach are?
One of the main reasons to bring it to a tournament is that it has a lot of explosive potential because you play Black Lotus. Of course, you're gonna, if you draw either natural Black Lotus or natural Underworld Breach, you just feel so much more explosive in what you can do. You're not reliant on drawing those pieces, but it has that ability to be really explosive. It's also one of the faster decks in the format, so it can easily outpace other combo decks that are on the slower side, except for exactly Citadel Storm, and it can outpace aggro decks. If they're just trying to goldfish you, you can often just outpace them entirely.
As long as your Breach doesn't get exiled or your graveyard doesn't get exiled before you're about to go off, it's pretty hard to get stopped. As long as you're not doing super tight lines or lines that require you to, kind of be you know what, I'm just going to risk it. Kind of what Zoe said is that once you're comboing off, you're usually going to win.
What are the weaknesses? Cole, we'll start with you.
Die is so freaking hard to graveyard hate. It's really a one-trick pony kind of deck. Playing against Time Vault with this deck is the worst feeling ever. It turns out when your opponent has 30 million different tutors to find the Soul Guide Lantern and the Grafdigger's Cage and whatever other hate piece they want to play, if your Underworld Breach does get exiled, let's say you're playing, the list I have on the database or a list that doesn't have any plan Bs, outside of Underworld Breach, you're going for Trinket Mage beats at that point. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, turns out the weakness of it being so parasitic in A+B is, if they just interact with the thing that gets you the win with your A+B, it's, like you were saying, Trinket Mage beat. Some user Zoe, anything on your side of potential weaknesses with the deck?
Sometimes you're gonna draw a hand, it looks like the most insane shit you've ever seen. And then you go to play it out, and your opponent has a mental misstep, and you just lose the game on the spot. This deck can be very resilient, but sometimes you're gonna draw a hand, and it's not gonna be resilient at all, and you're just gonna have to accept that sometimes you're gonna lose to 2 pieces of interaction. I'm confident to say that the deck does have to be in 5 color. If you would want to cut a color, it would be red, but you have to play red because of Underworld Breach. The mana is not as bad as you think, but it is still a consideration of something that you have to just pay attention to.
Right. Turns out you have to cast the Underworld Breach. Has there been any new developments in the list?
The most recent card that you could play, but I don't think either of us are playing right now, is Boomerang Basics. Just as another bounce spell. It's probably fine. That's something I haven't personally tested, but I know some Citadel Storm players have tested it and they've liked it. Probably the most impactful card that we've gotten is Tezzeret Cruel Captain from Edge of Eternities. It's another way to find Lotus, and sometimes you just happen to draw the One Ring and Tezzeret Cruel Captain, and you just get to do the Time Vault thing of like draw a million cards with the One Ring. We got Starting Town, which is a really good 5-color land, and we got Resentful Revelation, which is one of the cards of all time.
It's such a dog shit card, but you have to play it.
I think we're on like 2 or 3 of these strategic planning ransack the labs effects, and it's technically one of the better ones because it has additional text that you will never use.
Yeah, that's the entire reason it's in, is because it has flashback, but it's 7 mana, like...
Truly one of the cards of all time. What are the potential point spreads for Lotus Breach, guys?
Can you add 3 and 7 together?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about Lotus Breach, yeah, you've only got 2 cards, Black Lotus, Underworld Breach, but if you want to do like widespread, there's a handful of options. I know that Captain Campbell had a widespread breach deck for a while, or you've got like Algodi, Reanimator, not a super quirky deck. You don't really get that much wiggle room.
It's in the name.
It's in the name.
Tap the sign.
What are some personal inclusions, like choices that you're making in your list that other people might not necessarily be doing?
Yeah, so I've been trying out the Oath of Druids package. So you cut all the creatures except for... You have a couple options. I'm currently testing Atraxa. I think Atraxa Grand Unifier and Hoarding Broodlord are around the same. Atraxa Grand Unifier is a little bit better into blue. Hoarding Broodlord's a little bit better into just about everything else. It's a 1-card win in a deck that doesn't really get 1 cards. You're asking the questions, and it's 1 card that asks the entire question of the deck. I've also talked about the Yogwill and the Tendrils package. I've been really liking that. It comes up more than you would think it would, so I think that means that it's probably going to include, but maybe also it's just easier to reach sometimes. And then for the millers, I feel like when I've come back to the deck, we've cut a lot of the bad ones. Of course, we have Brain Freeze, and then Grinding Station's the next best one. I think Vision Charm. Vision Charm's definitely the most cheeky include. But it's so good, guys.
It's not the worst thing you could be playing as a mill spell. I'm just not on it because Tome Scour mills 5.
You also can, if your opponent has mostly only, like, if their blue sources are all islands, you can turn all islands into, like, forests or something. And then they have to float all of their mana. You go to your second main phase, and then you combo off. So it kind of works as a silence as well. You're already playing Brain Freeze and Grinding Station as exclusively ways to win with Breach and Play. So having these cards like Malevolent Rumble and less so Vision Charm, where they do other things, just allows the deck to play less bad cards.
For interesting inclusions, like for me, like I think right now it's City of Traders, Crystal Vein, Frantic Search. And that's just because, I mean, the entire reason why I cut most of the red lands from the deck is so I can try and play the soul lands. Frantic Search, it acts as like a bad mill spell, but also like as an okay like free mill spell. Still, it's like just kind of subpar. It could just be Vision Charm. It could be something else. Like there's like 4 or 5 flex spots in the deck. I think the deck is mostly figured out at this point.
Hey everybody, as you can probably tell by my general look and demeanor, I'm doing some last minute editing as per usual. But there is a much longer version of this video. Of course, I cut this one down for being on YouTube and for editing and all of that. But because of that, I had to cut a lot of stuff out. So if you're interested in looking at any of that at all, in my Patreon, in the link down below, I am putting the extended version of this video out for free. Be warned, it's a lot rougher, a lot less editing, a lot less visuals, just for time. That video is about 53 minutes long. So if you're interested in more discussions, I mean, we have a whole discussion about Lightning Bolt at the beginning of the video that just did not make the cut due to time. If you're interested in anything like that, more discussion, that is again down in the link below on my Patreon for free right now. So go ahead and check that out. If you're enjoying this, do the whole usual like, subscribe, hype's a thing, I guess, all that. But more importantly, check the extended version if any of this interests you at all. Now, to get an idea of what hands for this deck might look like and some thoughts you should be thinking as you're deciding whether to keep or mull hands and how turns might play out, we're going to go over 3 test hands. 1 is going to be into a blind opponent, and the last 2 are going to be against a known opponent, and I'll explain what archetype you're going against. So I want you to decide, is this a hand a keep or is this hand a mull? The first hand is Fabricate, the One Ring, Crystal Vein, Teleria West, Windswept Teeth, Cabal Ritual, and Dark Ritual.
It's a turn 1 ring. Then you have no good fixing. But I mean, turn 1 ring is pretty tempting. I feel like this is a hand I'd normally ship if I didn't have the 1 ring.
Yeah, this hand is entirely based around the fact that you could go Windswept Heath, crack for Scrubland or Bayou, go Dark Rit, go Cabal Rit, go 1 ring. You have a way to find Lotus and LED, so then you just need a way to find Breach and like a tutor for Breach, so then you can find a Miller. This is not the best turn 1 ring hand, but I've had hands where I turn 1 ring and I have 0 cards left in hand at the end of the turn and I'm happy. So yeah, this is a keep.
Yeah, no, this is a keep. It's a turn 3 win attempt probably, because you go turn 1 ring, draw a card, so you've drawn 1 extra card, next turn draw, you're looking at 2 deep, draw 2. Turn 3, draw.
You've seen 8 total extra cards after.
Yeah, like that's enough usually. And you've also got a Fabricate to find the Black Lotus. You're probably going to find a tutor that also finds the Underworld Breach. And you've also got the Crystal Vein to do soul mana stuff. But yeah, this is a keep to me.
For this hand, you are against red-white aggro death and taxes, whatever you want to call it. The red-white aggro taxes list. Mishra's Bauble, Silence, Serum Visions, Shifting Woodland, Shred Memory, Infernal Tutor, Marsh Flats.
Mole.
Yeah, this hand is not good.
You've got a guaranteed tap land. Silence does fuck all. You go like Marsh Flats, Tundra, silence them, and they're upkeep on turn 1 because they're gonna have some fucking Haymaker, and then you just go to your turn. You play a tap Shifting Woodland, Serum Visions, Cry.
I guess I'd keep this on like a 5 bottoming Silence and Infernal Tutor or Shred Memory. The hand would go like Mishra's Bauble myself, like see if I want to fetch for Surveil now or later. And so you get a little bit of card selection. Yeah, this is not a great hand.
This has a lot of spells, but you're going to be struggling with fixing super hard because you're going to be getting like probably Underground Sea off of this Marsh Flats, but like then you're also like just playing a really rough 5 like you mentioned, but your tutors are bad. They need black or no cards in hand, and all of your cards that you do have are cantrips, or they're just cantrips in your hand. So you're not going to be doing the Infernal Tutor until turn 3 if you don't draw another mana source off of the Serum Visions or the Bauble. And that's just going to be at a point where your Boros opponent is already going to have pressure plus disruption on the battlefield.
That makes sense. So both players agree this is a mull, unless it is a 5. You're against Jeskai Control. Consider, Ponder, Muddle the Mixture, Grim Tutor, Scrubland, Wooded Foothills, City of Brass.
Against Jeskai, this is a keep.
You're going to save a couple of cantrips. You have no real game plan aside from trying to get to 3 mana on turn 3. And at that point, your opponent's going to be holding up mana and never untapping. I don't know, this just seems like way too slow to me.
I think trying to mulligan for a really fast hand against Jeskai is kind of a losing game. This hand has 2 tutors, which is great. This hand has the ability to cast all your spells, which is great. This hand has cantrips.
I agree with you on all of that. You can cast all of your spells and that they are spells. And trying to go for a faster start than Jeskai is like going down to like 6. Like that's still fine in the deck. In the Jeskai matchup, you're trying to go underneath of them. You're trying to present a win before they've established themselves or have the ability to have the 2 open mana up or the 3 open mana or threat plus disruption. But like your game plan with this hand is hope your cantrips draw well, and then tutor on turn 3 into probably a very face-up counterspell.
That's why you have Muddle the Mixture. Muddle the Mixture gets rid of the counterspell. And since we're against Jeskai, since they don't have a hand disruption, you can just safely go for Breach.
That makes it better. My gut still is iffy on it.
I'm not like, this is a great 7 against Jeskai. I think this is just like this is a hand that is gonna be all right, and I think it's not worth the risk of going down to 6, seeing an unkeepable hand, like going down to 5 and keeping another mediocre hand.
I definitely see the arguments on both sides for why this might be a potential mulligan or a potential keep. I think there's both good points on this, and really comes down to how the players draw at that point. Does anybody have any final thoughts?
I want to give a shout out to Untitled Username on the main Canlander Discord server. They have also been playing Lotus Breach a lot and have been they've been really helpful for bouncing ideas off each other.
Like Zoe said, Untitled is doing a great job with the deck and they're putting up results and numbers with it. I mean, Zoe is also, it just shows the deck is still resilient and like a deck to be aware of.
Is there anything else you want to shout out or plug for yourself? Feel free, this is your opportunity.
I have a YouTube channel that I post to like once every 6 months. So, it is just some user Zoe. If you want to subscribe, that'd be great. If you don't want to subscribe, that's okay. I do mainly Canlander content.
Kind of similar. I have a podcast with a friend of mine, Canlander Tourney Prep podcast, super basic name, but we talk about getting deeper into the ideas of Canlander in a tournament setting and really trying to have discussions that promote those higher order thinking skills, like how to determine a metagame, like what skills are present in Canlander that aren't in traditional 60 card formats. So we're on Spotify, YouTube, We also have a Twitter, Blue Sky account.
And if you, dear viewer, want to either subscribe, follow on I don't know what they do on Spotify. Listen to Cole on Spotify, subscribe to Some User Zoe, Blue Sky Twitter. All of that will be in the description below for you to click on. As well, if this video made you interested in trying out Canadian Highlander, specifically Lotus Breach, we'll have a link down below for the database Lotus Breach list. We'll also just have a link to the Canlander database, the winners archive, and the Canadian Highlander Discord server. They do webcam weeklies, they do weeklies on Cockatrice. Also, they do monthly events on there on MitGo, so that'll be on that Discord as well. Can also be a place to see if you've got a local scene nearby you want to go to play some locals, and it's just got a lot of great resources for newer players getting into the format, kind of get a feel for things. So everything that we've talked about and mentioned will be in the description below, so if you want to check any of that out, it'll be there for you. Again, thank you both, Some User Zoe and Cole, for joining me today to babble for a bit about Lotus Breach.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.